What's up, Niner gang? The vibe in the Bay feels heavy tonight, different because four key storylines around the 49ers could shake this defense, this offense, and the real ceiling of this season. We're talking about a secondary that's finally being called out, a potential veteran pass rusher on the market who fits this roster's biggest weakness, a quiet but very real quarterback battle, and medical updates that might decide whether this team surges or collapses down the stretch. You're not going to want to miss any of this, so get comfortable, drop a like, share with another faithful, and let's get straight into it. If there's one spot on this 2025 team screaming for attention, it's safety. Think back to the great 49ers defenses you grew up watching or hearing about. There was always that one guy deep who erased mistakes, flipped momentum, and set a tone for everyone else. Ronnie Lott, Merton Hanks, Eric Reed. There was always a real difference maker on the back end. Now, every time the ball goes deep, it feels like an invitation to disaster. Every blown assignment, every late angle, every missed tackle turns into points. And that's not just a talent issue, that's decision-making, that's philosophy, that's a coaching staff clinging to comfort instead of competition. The season started with rookie Marcus Siegley growing every week, filling in while Malik Mustafa worked back from injury and Jason Pinnock holding things together as the steady veteran. It wasn't elite, but there was structure. Then Mustafa returns, the carousel starts, and Siegley simply disappears. Mustafa takes one spot, Jair Brown slides back into the lineup at the other, and from there, it's been a cycle of flashes mixed with breakdowns. Mustafa is explosive and instinctive, but he's reckless with his angles and leaves tackles on the field. Brown was supposed to be the hammer, but right now he's not consistently impacting against the run or the pass. Against high-powered offenses, that's fatal. And when you stack those issues on top of losing leaders like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Michael Williams, you're putting an absurd amount of stress on a secondary that doesn't have a true eraser. This scheme needs that player, someone who sees the field, anticipates, limits damage, and lets the front play aggressively without fear that every mistake becomes six. The most infuriating part for a lot of fans is the feeling that the answer might already be in the building. Instead of leaning into Siegel's upside and letting him take his lumps, the staff keeps defaulting to trusted vets who aren't earning that trust on Sundays. It feels like the organization would rather lose with familiar names than win with a young difference maker. That's the kind of mentality that drives a fan base crazy and quietly eats away at a locker room. If this defense is serious about resetting its identity, one of the first moves might not be a signing, but a message. No one has tenure, and the best players play. Putting Marquez Siegel back into a real role and demanding smarter safety play isn't just a tweak. It's the foundation for everything else that needs to happen. While the safety conversation is boiling, the most urgent issue is right at the line of scrimmage. The 49ers pass rush, once the heartbeat of this entire team, has lost its teeth. With Nick Bosa out for the season, Bryce Huff managing physical limitations, role players shuffling between injuries and the practice squad, and even after targeted swings like adding Keon White, this front just isn't closing. The pressures aren't consistently turning into sacks. Third and long doesn't feel like automatic 49ers territory anymore, and for a defense built to play with a lead and choke teams out, that is a flashing red siren. This is exactly where one name makes perfect sense: Yannick Ngakoue. A proven veteran still on the market, one of the top remaining edge rushers available, a specialist tailor-made for a contender that needs someone who can help right now, not 6 weeks from now. Ngakoue was never meant to be a full-time edge and heavy base against downhill run games, but that's not what the 49ers need from him. They need a closer, line him up wide in a 9-tech, let him attack the outside shoulder with that first step, speed, and bend, and force quarterbacks to climb directly into the teeth of San Francisco's interior. Put him on the same field as a healthy Huff, rotate White and the young pieces, and suddenly protections have to make real choices again instead of sliding comfortably one way and surviving. In the biggest moments, 3rd and 8, late in the 4th season on the line, Ngakoue becomes that designated problem off the edge that this defense is missing. Financially, the move fits the Lynch-Shanahan model. Short-term deal, controlled cost, no draft picks, no desperate overpay. After sitting out of a splashy, overpriced trade at the deadline, going and getting a veteran with legit sack production on his resume would send the exact message this locker room needs to hear. We are not punting on this window. That's why linking Yannick Ngakoue to the 49ers right now isn't clickbait. It's logic. It's need versus opportunity. A ready-made pass rusher who specializes in exactly what this defense lacks at this moment. And the question for the Niner gang is simple. with the pass rush begging for help and other contenders also hunting for a closer off the edge. Does it make any sense to leave Ngakoue sitting on the market while you watch another drive stay alive because nobody finished the job? While the defense searches for its soul, the offense is living through a storyline that feels straight out of NFL folklore. The quiet quarterback battle you're not supposed to call a quarterback battle. Ever since Brock Purdy aggravated his toe injury back in Week 4, Mac Jones has taken over the huddle. The same Mac Jones a lot of people had written off after the mess in New England and an uneven stint in Jacksonville is now the guy holding this offense together. And he's not just surviving, he's producing. 5 wins in 8 starts, over 2,000 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, better decision-making, quicker processing, command at the line of scrimmage, all that while dealing with injuries around him and facing real defenses. Against the Rams, even in a 42-26 loss, he put up a performance that turned heads, accurate, in rhythm, aggressive without being reckless. Kyle Shanahan, who rarely hands out public praise lightly, backed him up. He talked about Mac getting the ball out on time, finding the right matchups, giving the team a real chance. Inside that locker room, players feel the same. There's trust in how he operates, how he communicates, how he keeps the offense on schedule. And now we hit the tension point. Purdy is working his way back. The organization invested in him, believes in him, and has framed him as the guy when healthy. But when healthy is doing a lot of work here. Shanahan has been adamant. He won't put Purdy out there unless he can be the full version of himself. Mobile, creative, able to extend plays, not just standing in the pocket at 80%. So what do you do when the guy on the field is hot, the room respects him, and the original starter is almost ready, but maybe not all the way there? Even Tom Brady chimed in, reminding the world how riding the hot hand changed his life and his franchise. You don't throw that kind of comment into the 49ers universe without adding fuel. Suddenly, every rep in practice matters. Every throw in warm-ups becomes a talking point. This isn't just about depth chart politics. It's about credibility. If you rush Purdy back and he's not right, you risk losing games and sending the wrong message to the room. If you stick with Mac too long, you risk second-guessing your investment. But there's also a version of this story where Shanahan does what he's always asked his players to do: earn it. Let performance speak. Let the hot hand stay hot until someone actually takes it back on the field, not just on paper. And if there's any fan base that understands how fast a backup can rewrite a season, it's this one. To close all this out, there is finally a sliver of good news that actually matters. For once, the 49ers escaped a game without a fresh wave of devastating injuries. After the loss to the Rams, Shanahan reported no new major issues, and for this particular season, that almost feels like a small miracle. Of course, every veteran 49ers fan hears that and waits for Wednesday just to be sure, and Shanahan basically said the same thing. This year has turned every walkthrough into a risk, every report into a moment of tension, but there are real, tangible reasons for optimism. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is trending toward returning to practice, and getting him back injects juice, separation, and another reliable target into this offense. That's not just depth. That's a real piece that can change how defenses line up. Brandon Ayuk's return window still isn't open, and the staff is absolutely right not to rush a knee with that kind of damage history. Brock Purdy's status ties directly into that bigger quarterback question. The bar is 3 aggressive practices without setbacks. Meet that, and the door to a return cracks open. Miss it, and the decision becomes clearer to stick with Mac. On the defensive line, rookie Alfred Collins, who was close to playing against the Rams, is set for another evaluation, with a legitimate chance to help shore up the rotation soon. Slowly, painfully, this roster that felt like it was unraveling piece by piece is starting to stitch itself back together. And sometimes, that's the real turning point for a contender. Not a blockbuster trade, not a viral quote, but simply getting your guys back on the field together long enough to build rhythm. If there's one message tying all of this together, it's that the 49ers are standing at a real crossroads. On defense, they have to stop hiding behind the idea of safe veterans and start rewarding upside, urgency, and intelligence, whether that means unleashing Seigel on the back end or finally going out and getting a closer like Ngakoue. On offense, they've stumbled into a version of Mac Jones that demands to be taken seriously, and now they have to decide whether they're brave enough to ride the moment instead of the label. Around all of it, the slow return of key pieces offers just enough light for this locker room to believe that the season is still very much alive. So now it's your turn, faithful. Who should be QB1 when everyone is available? Would you sign Yannick Ngakoue tomorrow? And what changes would you make in that secondary? Hit the like button, subscribe, send this to another Niners fan who lives this as hard as you do, and drop your take in the comments because this debate is just getting started.